You have to have a great attitude. Your attitude is the most important sale that you have to make every day. Like, your job doesn't require you to be like upbeat or uptone or whatever you want to call it. But like, people enjoy doing business with people that are easy to be around. Bringing a good attitude to work every day is half the battle. The second piece of the battle is having a sharp weapon. And so in order to do that, you have to train. The most successful things that I ever implemented in the sales department was every single day when we had a team of 4 people, we got together and we spent 25 minutes role playing every day.
What up, it's Mr. X to the Z Exhibit.
What's up, guys? It's Andy Frisella.
This is your boy, Trout Munch.
This is Ryan Serhant.
This is Shingy.
Hi, it's Patrick
This
McNiven.
is Sonia Servitani.
This is Director X.
Hey, everybody, I'm Forbes Riley.
Yo, this is Goldie.
This is Amberly Lago.
This is Chris Voss.
Michael Francis here.
Yo, this is Charlie Tuna.
Hey, what's up? It's Billy G.
And you're listening to the Run GpG
podcast.
Well, I'm going to go hang out and listen to David's next podcast from the Run GpG.
You might hear something you like. Peace.
Today, I'm excited to welcome a guest who's played a pivotal role in the driving success of one of the most dynamic enterprises in the business world. Our guest today is Jarrod Glandt, the president of Grant Cardone Enterprises, where he's worked closely with Grant Cardone for an impressive 13 years. In fact, Jarrod has been instrumental in propelling Cardone Enterprises from $2 million per year in sales to well into the 9 figures. He's also a fellow podcaster hosting the Young Hustlers podcast, where he shares invaluable insights tailored to a millennial audience, covering topics from sales and marketing to managing finances and excelling in the world of entrepreneurship. Beyond his professional achievements, Jarrod is a devoted family man, a loving husband, and a father of 2 sons. His ability to balance a successful career with family life adds a personal touch to his journey, making him not just a respected professional, but also a relatable figure for many aspiring entrepreneurs. Jarrod, welcome to the Run GpG podcast.
David, thanks so much for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. Good to finally sit down and talk with you. I wanted to get you on the show for a few reasons. I've talked to you a few times over the years.
Yeah.
And nothing in depth, but you've been on our radar because you've not only helped grow one of the most successful business and personal brands actually on the globe, but you also have an extensive background in sales and entrepreneurship marketing, as we mentioned, business development. And you're also a family man, right? So I'm looking forward to chopping it up with you. I wanted to start by getting a little of your background for context before we get into the meat of it. So can you share a little bit about your journey in sales and entrepreneurship and ultimately how you got involved with Grant Cardone?
Yeah, so I think that sales for me, I think, was an easy fit because I was an outgoing person, even though I consider myself, slightly introverted, I have the appearance of being an outgoing type person. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people in sales. They have an outgoing personality and they just kind of end up being like, hey, I guess I'm going to be a salesperson because I can talk to people. And so from a young age, I think I got my first sales job working for my dad when I was 15. And he ran motorcycle dealerships. And so every year this fair came through San Diego. It's called the Del Mar Fair. I think it's the San Diego County Fair now. And then they'd always have a booth there with jet skis and all this stuff. And the owners of the business said, hey, you're 16 years old. We want you to run this booth. And there's, 4 employees working there. And so I got to basically for like 35 days or 40 days or something, run this whole booth as my like little business. And I had to fire a girl that was like 22 and she was pissed about that. The 16-year-old kid was firing her, but it was a good experience. But I've always been around people. And so just kind of through my career, have always kind of found myself in roles like that until I was working in a sales job and didn't love the space that I was in. I was working for one of my best friends and my dad had come across something of Grant's online and called the office up and bought a program for his store. And he called me up after. He goes, man, this is the type of guy you should be working for. And then I went on YouTube. At the time, his YouTube channel maybe was like 20 videos. It was 2010. It was nothing, like Instagram was just a baby. Nobody outside of California even knew what it was yet. And started calling the office, did the sales thing, called the office every day for about a month and a half until they agreed to interview me. There was 3 employees there. So it was like, it wasn't a whole lot of people I had to navigate through. But ultimately I got interviewed and got hired and just along the way, just kept doing the next thing that needed to be done and found myself today president of the company.
Wow. That's crazy. That's a crazy 13 years, right? From
Yeah.
where it started, like 3 employees, 20 videos in 2010. It's true, right? Like I think, it was the infancy of
Yeah.
Instagram, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, that's super interesting. So over the last 13 years, I mean, you've been, the man behind the brand in a way, right? You've been instrumental in growing, the Cardone brand, Cardone Enterprises, as we said, from 2 million to well into 9 figures. So the question is, how did you do that? Like, what are the key strategies that contributed to, the company's remarkable growth over, the last 10 years specifically?
Yeah. I mean, look, dude, I wish I could take all the credit and, but the truth is Grant's he's an anomaly. He's got crazy superpowers when it comes to promotion and brand. He just, he didn't have the right tools. And so he built his entire business cold calling and knocking on doors. And then the internet came out and he just applied this crazy, relentless, insane work ethic to the platforms and then built a big audience. And my job has always just been making sure that we have products and offers and teams to take that attention and then convert it into customers. And so, look, like Grant would always have found success on his own. I just think that he and I have a really great working relationship because I can't do what he does and he can't do what I do. So it's great. And most important thing is we just have fun and just, we work hard. We do a lot of events. We have a lot of programs. We have 250 employees and probably 80 different programs or offers so there's just a lot going on. And there's only there's a small group of people that can actually be in an environment like that where there's so much happening and so much going on and so much constant pressure. So it's just we've always just had so much fun working together,
Yeah, you guys do look like a yin yang in a way, looks like you guys, you complement each other well. And it does look like you're having a lot of fun from what I can see. It does look like you're having fun. Looks like a great
he always says, I don't understand how you're so paced. Like I'm all about like increments, like get something in, get it working, and then lean into it and scale it. He's much more just like run through the brick wall, even if it's the wrong wall. And then, just all of the activity will ultimately generate something. And, but we have a great time together.
Yeah. To your point, I've always said this, I've said this a ton of times on this show. I think Grant's one of the greatest marketers on the planet. Like nobody markets like Grant Cardone.
Doubt.
It's unbelievable.
No doubt.
Like he's the best, no matter what you think of him or how polarizing some people think he is. Nobody markets like Grant Cardone. You cannot take that away like at all.
Yeah. I mean, like when you're spending, $2.5 million a month on traffic, you can put his face everywhere, but you could put anybody's face anywhere, but you still you have to have something that people either they love, they don't know about, they love, or they hate. And then your job is to get the people that don't know about it yet to decide whether they love you or hate you. And, because Grant, I mean, obviously our goal isn't to make everybody hate us, but Grant just has that personality that is, like you mentioned, it's polarizing. But one of the most common things that we always hear is once people actually get in and they become clients and customers, they come to the events and the programs and they actually get to see the real business. They're like, man, I didn't like Grant at first, but thank God that I got over that and got in because it's changed my business forever. So your first impression isn't always your last impression. You got to have an opinion if you want to get somebody's attention. Like in business, in this crowded, noisy marketplace, if you don't have a strong opinion, you will disappear. It's the people with the strongest opinions. Look at politics right now. Like it's freaking wild. Like the loudest voices have the most controversial, opinionated, hated messages, and they get the most attention for it. So it's like, rip a page out of that book and put it in your business. But unfortunately, the problem that most people run into, which is another thing that Grant does really well, is he just don't listen to the hate. He actually believes that the hate is a positive thing. He's like, dude, for every one person that hates me and is vocal about it, there's 10 people that like me that aren't telling me. Yeah. And so it's just an indicator for him that he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. You got to grab attention. I think Grant calls those the voyeurs. They're the most important, right? Because they haven't made a decision yet. But so 13 years doing this, it's really interesting. There's been a lot of ups and downs in the business world and in entrepreneurship, finance, pre-COVID, post-COVID, the political, social climate, et cetera. Here's a question for you. How do you navigate challenges and adapt to changes in the business landscape?
Well, I wish that I could say that there have been ups and downs. Actually, I don't wish that, but there hasn't been for us. Every year, 13 years, year over year, every year since I started, we've had year over year increases every year. Our graph, our revenue graph looks like it's actually more like that. And it's because the business that we're in is we teach people how to run a business. If that is your business, then you better be freaking the best at it. Mm-hmm. And so when COVID happened, for example, we increased net profit by 65% and almost doubled top line sales. We pivoted fast. We shut down an underperforming division of the company. We pivoted into the virtual thing, which we were already doing a lot of. There were few people that were doing as much virtual as we were. And then we just shifted the whole model. And while everybody else was, their businesses were going out and under, we were knocking out record years. So, I think you have to have a good fundamental base. You don't have to do everything perfect. We do not do everything perfect. Grant and I were just talking about this. We probably are 65%. When it comes to, the customer service problems or a salesperson mishandling a call, there's 250 employees, people make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And the bigger the company, the higher the likelihood is that you're going to encounter some type of problem or issue. The problem is when people focus too much on building something that's perfect, that they don't build anything at all. Exactly. And so for us, it's just we have big vision, big goals, big purpose for the company. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the intrinsic value of the work that we do here, which is helping people just make more money and live a better life because they have a successful business. That's a reward in and of itself. And so, for us, the money's great. We make a ton of it, but really having the ability to change, you change somebody's money, you change their family dynamic, you change the relationship they have with their kids and their husbands or their wives or their brothers and sisters and mothers. And so for us, that is a big driver to continue to be creative when things get difficult. It's okay, we need to make this business work for us and our families. And then we have to find the next thing that's going to work for us to teach our clients so that they can get out of the same pickle if that's the case.
Execution does trump all. Yeah, and to your point, you're never going to solve every problem. As your company grows, you solve one problem, you create two. It's always the way it is. Always.
Well, problems are native in business.
Yep.
People, when they're getting started or whatever, somebody's making 500 grand a year, they just hit 2 million in sales in their business. And they're like, oh my gosh, there's so many problems. I'm like, dude, we clipped 150 out of this business, 130 out of our other business. Dude, the problems do not go away. They become more frequent and hopefully they get bigger. Yeah. The only problem you don't want is you don't want the same problem over and over and over again. Problem employee because of a problem manager. Anytime you have recurring problems, the same problem over and over again, those are the ones that you got to find a way to take out back and shoot, because new problems are a good thing, but having the same old problems, terrible thing.
No, 100%. Yeah, it's well put. Just focusing on sales training for a minute, because you really built kind of your stock in that. I think in the beginning, you started your career with sales training and coaching. I believe you said at 16, right? A lot of our listeners and subscribers, they are sales professionals. What key principles or strategies do you believe are crucial for success in sales and sales training?
You have to have a great attitude. Your attitude is the most important sale that you have to make every day. Maybe your job doesn't require you to be upbeat or uptone or whatever you want to call it, but people enjoy doing business with people that are easy to be around, and bringing a good attitude to work every day is half the battle. The second piece of the battle is having a sharp weapon. And so in order to do that, you have to train. And that doesn't mean hey, I went to a program. It means what we've still done to this day, every single day. One of the things the most successful things that I ever implemented in the sales department was every single day, when we had a team of 4 people, we got together and we spent 25 minutes role playing every day. And so I remember I had one of those whiteboard, the you paint on the walls, you can draw on the walls. And we had a meeting because we were getting crushed making calls. And I said, all right, guys, we're going to sit down and we're going to come up. It was a Saturday morning. We would come in on Saturdays. That was another thing. We'd come in on Saturdays for 3 or 4 hours and just drill and train and role play and talk about deals. And so I went up over to the board and I said, all right, what are the objections you guys are hearing that you're getting crushed on right now? And so we listed out 10. And then I said, which ones do we hear 85% of the time? And there was 4. And I'm these 4 right here, we're going to be incredible at. If you guys get beat on one of the other ones, I'm okay with that. But I'd rather be 100% on 85% of the objections and miss on 15% than be average across the board. And so we started drilling and role playing every single day, 25 minutes every day. To this day, 13 years later, still doing that. Number one sales rep, made 900 grand this year. He still does the same role play as the person who started 3 weeks ago. And that's just part of the culture. It's like, this is what we do. It's a successful action for us.
100%. Yeah. Success leaves clues. I find, for, what we do training internally in our company, the most successful agents and sales professionals, they're never missing from the training, the masterminds, the coaching, they're never missing. They're always there. No matter, that's rainmaking activity. If you had to put your finger on it, like what separates a successful salesperson from an unsuccessful one?
Two-step answer. Number one is you have to ask great questions. And then number two is you have to listen to the answers and use the answers in the pitch. I don't think there's a lot of salespeople that do really good at asking great questions. I think they bail quick. They never get down past surface level to like find what the real problem is or the real reason why they have to make a decision or what they've done in the past that they're trying to avoid a mistake that they made. And so they ask superficial questions to check a box, to fill out their script, and they miss the opportunity to grab the gold. The customer will literally tell you how to close them if you ask enough questions the right way. And so tell me more about that. Oh, what did that cost? Oh, how much did that cost you? If you had to quantify it, what would it be? Like digging down and figuring out like the real thing that you need. Oh, that costs you 10 deals a month. What's your average deal worth? Average deal pays us $5,000. So that's $600,000 a year you're missing because of this problem that we can help you solve today. And so I want to plant that seed early. I'm going to quantify a problem, tie it to a price, make money, save money, more time, less time, whatever the outcome is you're trying to deliver for your customer. And then I want to quantify that so that when I go into the close, I can remind them about the problem that they told me about and how much it costs to solve that problem. And would they be willing to invest 5% of that to solve that problem and make it go away? So it's like you got to ask the right questions. Then you have to dig deep to make sure that it's validated that you're getting a real answer. And you guys know, like when somebody's giving you a BS response and they're trying to, oh, I don't know. You ask them a question, you're like, what's one thing you're struggling in your business right now that if I could solve for you, might give me a little bit of money to fix? They say, oh, I don't know. If you did know, what would it be? I don't know, man. We got a lot of problems. Yeah, most businesses have problems. What are they? Problems with sales, with marketing, with recruiting, with leadership, with profitability, with follow-up, with keeping your team motivated. What problems are you facing the most right now? Like, I'm trying to get an answer. Like, I'm trying to get them to lock on something and not just blow through and pass by, which is a lot of times what salespeople do. They ask BS questions. They don't get real responses. And then when the customer does give them answers, they never use them again when they're pitching the product and trying to close the deal. So I think that was probably like a longer answer to something that maybe started as a short answer.
I loved it. So yeah, just to summarize, ask better questions and listen. I don't think salespeople listen enough. I really don't.
Yeah, there's two types of questions you need to be asking.
Yeah.
You need to ask questions to assess a situation. So like, what are the needs that the customer has? And then the second set of questions that you need to ask are buying behavior decisions, buying behavior questions. So how do they make decisions? How have they made decisions like this in the past? Who else needs to be involved? How did they pay for it? What was the value like? Like you have to get into, how much time did it take before, like you're asking all of these things up front, because when you get into the close after you've presented the product, like now they've seen the product, they've seen the offer, they've heard the pricing, and now everything that all the communication that they consume from you has a biased filter on it of they're trying to trap me or close me. Mm-hmm. So you want to try to load up and get all the data you can early in the call before you get into that when the buyer's the most guarded.
Yeah, that's well put. In real estate, we say, you got to determine timing and motivation, right? If you don't have those two things, you will not have a transaction, right? So you have to ask questions to determine timing and motivation, and then have a compelling call to action or, a unique selling proposition that gets people to sit down with you or get to an appointment. So yeah, some of the principles are universal. But when we talk about like the approach to sales and marketing, have you seen a change over the years? Well, maybe, with what you're doing at Cardone Enterprises, the 10X brand. Like what I mean by that is like, how do you approach innovation, staying ahead in a competitive market? Like, did you go from direct response marketing to branding? Obviously there's a difference between the two, but I've seen the Cardone brand evolve over the years. I've followed for the last 10 years.
I mean, I think just generally for us has trended downward, performance of digital. We used to send an email and make 50 grand. Like every time we sent an email, we'd make 50 grand. And like those days are gone. Like email that significantly underperforms, even with a big list. Like I think just overall, it's okay, well, that's not working like it used to. We're not generating the registrations and opt-ins from the database as we were before. Offers aren't being purchased through emails like they were before. Like I used to be able to sell $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 event tickets through email. Now the only way we're getting those is on the phone. So, I mean, that's just for our business. Not every business is like that, but I don't know if it's our customer or whatever. But for us, like the phone is more important now than ever. And I think what happened with over the last 8 years is a lot of people got into the laptop lifestyle. I want to have a business where I have contractors, I can work from wherever, and maybe that works, but not if you want to build something big. If you want to build something big, like you need people, you need culture, you need to keep them engaged, you need a hierarchy and leadership, and it's really hard to do all those things when you don't have a team of people that you can go into and touch and feel and look at and hear and have the camaraderie. And so, yeah, for us, we're focused on doubling down on the team this year. We want to get to 300 reps between our Scottsdale and Miami office. We do have remote reps, and I won't say we've cracked the code on it yet, but it was a new thing for us because we're like, hey, if we want to scale quickly, there's only so quick you can bring on people that require a move to one of two cities. And so I said, I know if we offer a remote setup that it will be the most in-demand thing that we've ever done. We promoted it for a week just on social, no paid traffic, no Indeed ads, no nothing. We had 3,600 people apply, and then we surveyed them coming in, and 65% of them made over $150,000 a year. And out of that, we went through and found the best of the best of the best and got to a first class of 20 that we've brought in, and are just finishing our first kind of our 90 days with them. But the plan's to go to 500 people remote. We just got to figure out the process, get the process nailed down.
Wow, that's impressive. That's pretty good. Yeah. So remote reps. So have you noticed, it, like you said, digital actually doesn't work as well as it used. Well, the emailing doesn't work as well as it used to, but the branding part, that's what I'm kind of curious about, because the Cardone brand, 10X, that whole thing, 10X Growth Con, the brand has evolved a lot. I think it's larger than life. I mean,
yeah, we don't really think about it like that though. We don't think about it as what does 10X mean? We don't have meetings where we're 10X means big targets and big think. And so we don't overthink brand. Brand is, I guess we're just more transaction based. The brand, we believe if we're creating content and we're connecting with the right people and creating the right associations and collaborating with the right people, then that's how the brand gets built. But it's not because we hired some Madison Avenue agency, paid them $1 million for 6 months to come through and do brand consulting for us. Those aren't the conversations we have. We have tell people about who we are, tell people about the problem that we solve, and tell them how we can solve it for them, and then give them a call to action. We're very our brand is direct response. It's until the customer converts on a product, you can't solve their problem. If you are a salesperson and you solve a problem for a customer, that problem can't be solved until they become a customer. And so it's we know that that's the thing that we're pushing for, is how do we get them to convert? So, for a company of our size, we probably spend 2% of the time we should on having brand conversations and just focus on leaning into what's working.
Yeah, no, whether you like it or not, you have a brand, Jarrod. A couple questions about leadership and team building. You know,
Yep.
you are president of Cardone Enterprises. You lead a lot of teams. How do you foster a positive and productive work culture within your team? You mentioned it earlier, but
Yeah, dude, you got to remind people about why they're there. Like every single person that either you work with or that works for you has problems. Like everybody's got problems in their life, different kinds of problems. Family problems, personal problems, mental problems, money problems, plumbing busted in the head. Like everybody's got problems, right? And so what's important is when they show up to work, that you have the opportunity to reset that. And so like we have a daily all hands meeting, like so role playing in the morning, training in the morning, daily all hands meeting. And then in that meeting, each department goes through and just shares their successes. Like, hey, what happened the previous day? So what were the revenue targets that hit? How many customers did we help? How many people did we add to the list? How many people signed up for our business training programs? How many packages got sent out? How much money did we raise in real estate? So we basically just go through. And then at the end of every meeting, we always bring on one of 100,000 client success stories. And we get these things they're coming out of our ears, and we play video. And so we play the video and somebody comes in, like the guy this morning, I forget what the kid's name was. But he had a business. He's doing 500 grand a year. 14 months later, he did over $1 million. So it's like that's what they see every day. And then they're like, okay, so everybody's excited to be here. We're helping people, you know, all the stuff we do with the foundation, you know, we're constantly like literally every week we're having groups of kids from at-risk communities from around the country come in. And like they go to our classroom, we teach them about financial literacy, entrepreneurship, business principles. And so people see that good work being done. Like they see over here us monetizing and profiting from it. And then over here, they see us doing something completely free for a highly sensitive group of people that maybe haven't had the same opportunities as everybody else. And they need to get access to this information sooner so that they can affect their life. And I think that when you do that, the culture is so strong that either people are going to be like, oh my God, this is home, or they're gonna be like, man, that ain't for me. And so, but you can't have people in the middle. And so the goal is, you know, people start showing up late. Like we're pretty militant here, like militant on late, militant on problems, militant on not doing the job. Like we're not afraid to eject people, because if you don't fire people, you can never find great people. Like you've got to get rid of bad people so that you can put somebody new in the seat to see if you can find somebody great. Yeah.
Those are great thoughts. Those are fantastic. I love hearing that. Well put. Speaking of which, like what qualities specifically do you look for in people you hire? Or I guess I could say, you know, what qualities do you value the most in individuals you work with?
Yeah. So it's like the old adage, like, you know, hire for attitude, train for results. So, you know, we're looking a number of times terminated top salesperson. They start being bad for the culture. They start becoming toxic. They start having attitude. They start influencing the people around them. So, you know, we'll terminate people for that. So really what we're looking for is, are they a cultural fit? Like number one is, do they even have the expertise fit to get through the front door? Like, do they have the experience we're looking for? And then really we're looking at like, okay, culturally, are you going to be able to fit in? Like it's a high stress environment. There's a lot happening right now. We've got all this stuff moving. We're trying to go public in the next 18 months. So there's like a lot of compression in the environment to get stuff done, to increase revenue, to become more profitable. Like we're trying to do all these things in a short period of time. And so we're trying to find out, like, you know, are you the type of person that at 6 o'clock comes, like your phone's off and we can't get a hold of you? Are you the type of person that is going to be like, you know, I'm not going to do that. That's not my job. Like our team, like that's not my job. Our culture, without even addressing that specific question, has like evaporated that because everybody has such high levels of responsibility here. So I don't know, dude, like clearly communicated culture that can be experienced, and then doing your best to find an experience fit that's also a culture fit. And then you drop them into the culture and see what happens. Like you're never going to get it perfect. You're never going to get it right. The way to get stuck is to be afraid of turnover. Like you have to go through people to find great people. I think people get comfortable. Business owners get comfortable. They get a team in place. All the jobs are being done. and they're not super happy with it. They're frustrated with it, but they're like, man, it's going to be easier than me firing this person. And then now I've got a hole. I've got to figure out how to fill this hole, which means I've got to do it, or the team's got to come together and figure out how to do it. And then I got to go hire another person. So they end up kind of accepting the result that's subpar versus the work of trying to go find the right person. So, and then they just get stuck. They become prisoners in their own business to their employees.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Yeah. That's well put again. Are you a new real estate agent or thinking about getting a real estate license? If so, you're going to want to ask about the Greater Property Group's Agent Scholarship Program. Why pay for the cost of the course yourself when the Greater Property Group will subsidize the cost for you? Make sure you reach out and get all the details on the Greater Property Group's Agent Scholarship Program. You're also a fellow podcaster, correct? The Young Hustlers podcast.
Been a while, yeah.
Has it been a while?
Yeah, I haven't dropped a new one recently. I keep getting messages to bring it back. I'll probably do that this year.
Oh, let's go. I was going to ask you about it though. If where did the idea come from? What do you focus on with that show? Yeah.
So let's see. It was 2000, and probably one of the worst things was I stopped shooting that podcast. Because I started shooting that show and had built a pretty good following. I had moved out to Miami, so that was 2012. And I remember I was riding in the car with Grant, and at this time, like everywhere in the news was, millennials are going to be the lost generation. They're not motivated. They don't want to work. They don't want to do this and that. And I'm 40. I'm a millennial, and I'm like, man, this is shit. Like, I'm hungry, and I know a lot of people that are hungry that want to make money and that are willing to work. And so I'm like, Grant, we need to create a show for the younger generation that literally will start helping them like get the support that they need. Because right now their friends are probably telling them, dude, why are you working so hard? All you're doing is making the business owner money. Like life is about balance, like all this garbage. And I'm like, dude, we should create a show about it. And we did the show for, I don't know, like 8 years, 9 years or something. So
8-9 years. And then you just pulled the plug.
Well, yeah, because we started doing a ton more like mentorship with our clients and business owners, and started working more in people's businesses, and my schedule I'm just making excuses at this point. So.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like in real estate, millennials are driving the market over the next 3 to 5 years for sure. That being said, 8 years doing that show, focusing on the young hustlers. What advice would you give to young professionals entering the world of sales and entrepreneurship? From Jarrod Glandt.
Yeah, I mean, the frame of reference that I have, the lens that I look through, I think that's important to understand before answering that question, because I think why you think the way that you do is important to disclose to people so they don't think that you're a psychopath. Because for me, when I look for my future, I care less about what I do to get to the destination than getting to the destination. So like my primary goal is like, okay, get to a destination. Let's call it my ideal life. For me, that's creating what my ideal life looks like when I'm 55 years old or 60 years old. And I like super detailed. I go through everything, like where I want to vacation, things I want to do, income targets based on all of these things, cars, houses, trips, kids, church, charities, I try to come up with the most detailed plan possible. And then I try to get a cost associated with that as best as I can. I'll look at hotels. Like I used to do this a lot, especially when I was broke and not making money. Like I'd spend a lot of time on this because it got me excited. And so then I'd come up with a passive income target by the time I was 60 years old. And then I just start reverse engineering it back. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, I want to have $1 million a month in passive income. So what do I need to do now in order to do that? And so for me, it's like, okay, I'm going to shift from the goal and the target. Now I'm excited. And then I'm going to shift to what can I do now? Not what do I want to do? What can I do now to find the right opportunity to make the money that I need in order to do that? And then what do I need to do in order to increase my ability to make more money so I can increase my capabilities, the capacity that I have to learn new information, the capability I have to continue to grow. And then how can I repeat that cycle long enough that the income changes. See, most people read a book and then they're like, nothing changes. And they're like, okay, well that, reading doesn't work. Or they go to a workshop, the business workshop, and then they're like, oh yeah, it was great for a couple months. And then they don't repeat it. And then everything goes back to normal. They're like, yeah, business workshops don't work. And so it's like, how do you continue to do the thing? Getting more educated on how to run a business is always going to be the right thing to do. Making sure that you're going to high enough levels to do it also is important. So like you have to know that like, if it's the right thing to do, you have to keep doing it until you see the result. So then, you get a big purpose, goal, and vision, you engineer the math, you find an opportunity that will give you the opportunity to get your income where you need to. Then you need to continue to develop skill so that you become more capable of generating more income. And then as soon as you start making money, like you start getting into real money, like 3, 4, 5, 600 grand, you spend money like you were making 80 or 100 grand, not like you're making 600 grand. And then you invest all of your extra money. My asset of choice is real estate because I like the passive income and the tax deductions. And then you just repeat that cycle. And so I did that. I'm probably, $15 million net worth today. I mean, it's not as much as a lot of people, but it's more than a lot of folks. And I'm on the path right now, and I'm executing the plan that I had. I had a vision, I had a goal, I had a target. I got in a job that gave me a lot of opportunity. I continued to educate myself and invest in myself to get my income up. And then I put that income away and eliminating distractions. Like you just got to get super laser focused on this. And that means less friends and less social time now. But like, dude, that like friends and social time ain't a part of my plan. I'm like, I got a wife, I got 2 kids. I want to have my dream life with my family. If I have friends along the way, great. But these are the most important 3 people in my life. And I'm going to do anything that I can to give them the life that we all deserve.
Fantastic advice. And I'll tell you, the last couple of minutes there are extremely motivating, Jarrod. I don't know if you know that, but that was very actionable and that was very motivating. So thank you for that. Yeah. Is there anything that you wish you had known before you started working with Grant and Cardone Enterprises? Or, is there anything you wish you had known before you started your career?
I've had the ability to, when I started working for Grant, the business was doing about $2.5 million a year. And he had been investing in real estate some, but the business wasn't making a fraction of what we do today. And I had the opportunity to observe the way that he thought. Like I got to actually see that in action. And so what I got to see was I saw the product of the right think over a long period of time. I mean, long period of time, 13 years. Like Grant was probably worth 10 or $12 million when I started working for him, worth $1.2 billion now. So it's like that whole journey along the way, the think has never changed. It's always been this big think and about this like achievement of potential. And as long as you're focused on so to answer your question, focusing on what I'm capable of and having a lot of conviction in my potential, and then continuing to think big. Like Grant is, wealthiest person that I spend a lot of time with. Our other business partner, Brandon, he's probably worth 300 million, sold his last business for 155. Like when you're around people like that, they think differently. And so for me, I wish at like 16 years old, and I didn't have social media at 16 like they do today. Like the influencer, if you're a millennial, you did not grow up with influencers. MySpace was like, the cool thing, but it was your friends. There was no influencers. Like it was not, you don't have access to that. And so like having access to guys like Brandon and Grant, and to be able to see and learn and watch and observe has really I'm like, if I would have had that at 16 years old, I'd be worth $200 million by now, because I would have constantly, I was thinking as big as my dad and mom can think, or as big as my friends can think. And so the people around you limit the potential that you believe you have inside of you and what you believe you should be capable of doing. And in fact, if you're around people that have limited thinking and you start thinking big, they'll actually bring you down. They will find ways to knock you down because what you're proposing is so much more significant than what they can think with. And because they've given up on it, they don't think it's possible for you either. And they'll gladly share that with you. And so being around people that think big enough and then being able to think with that and not chase a finish line but have conversations with yourself about what are you capable of? Dude, you did $1 million in sales last month. Dude, what would it take to get to 2 million? Like, is there a way to do that? And then the question's always, it's how do you do it, not whether it's possible or not. Like, how could that happen? And I hate that answer because think is so like esoteric and it's just like this.
No,
fluffy,
it's good.
Like, I mean, I'm not a big rah guy. Like, we don't do the jump up and down thing. We don't, it's like, hey, dude, you show up, you go to the locker room, you put your gear on, you go to the field and you dominate. That's what you do. Like, I don't need a cheerleader to help me do that. So mindset is always kind of a fluffy thing for me, but it truly is like, if you can't think big, then you're always going to be small.
You actually answered my question about work-life balance, which is, kind of I don't really like those questions, but for successful people and family men, it's good to ask that question. You talked about your focus as your family first. Are there any specific routines or practices you follow to maintain a healthy work-life balance? Maybe a daily routine?
I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I'd like to say that I'm the most disciplined, regimented, routine person in the morning, but depending on how the night goes, you get home, bath times, World War, who knows who's going to end up punched or bleeding or, who knows what's going to happen. In the morning, somebody has a bad dream. They come in at night, they get in your bed, they're kicking you all night. Like there's no like, as much as I wish, right? But I think that what I was saying before was, I know like me, my wife, my kids, like I'm trying to get this goal, but I'm also doing my best to not sacrifice the moment now as we're doing that. So the last thing you want to do is you want to be so focused on the future that you miss all the present and you miss the now things. And so is in business, whether you're a man or a female, if you're the breadwinner is a female or the breadwinner is a man, if you're out there and you're pushing and you're grinding and that's all that you're doing and thinking about, like, and you're not giving the attention that the wife and the kids need, you will have problems. And when you have problems at home, you're going to bring those problems to work and you're going to start having problems at work. And so like for my wife and I, and the challenge is when you have kids, like your kids, they need you in a different way, right, than your wife does. So typically what happens is you end up with business, kids, and then wife. And then she gets all the leftovers and then she feels that. And I'm going through like experiences because in my life, as we've been doing the married thing and the kids thing, and then work is crazy. And like, it's this riding wave that I haven't perfected yet. The most important thing is you have to be aware of it. And then you have to prioritize the time with your spouse, the same way you prioritize appointments with clients. And so for us, we have scheduled date nights every week. We have like a half day every month where we have like a relationship day where we'll go get massages or we'll go have breakfast on the beach and then walk on the beach and just kind of talk and catch up. At the beginning of every year, I go out, because we plan our year out in advance here at the office. So I'll go through the entire calendar. We'll combine her calendar with my calendar so we know what's happening. We committed to a vacation with the kids every quarter. So it's like, we're going to go every 4, like, dude, I was lucky when I was a kid growing up to go on one vacation a year. My dad worked Saturdays, so I got to see him usually on Sunday only. And he was so exhausted from working for 6 days that like, there wasn't a lot of energy. And I had an amazing dad, but those are the things that you have to have, like put yourself a reminder on the calendar. Hey, send wifey a love text, make her feel special, like make her know that you're thinking about her. I do this other thing where like I'll go to CVS and I'll buy like a bunch of like sappy love cards and like I'll buy like 50 of them and then I'll throw them in my trunk and then like I'll be coming home, I'll pull into the driveway, I'll open my trunk, I'll get a card out, I'll scribble a note really quick and then take it inside and hey baby, I got this for you. That's what she likes. I don't need a card every day. That's not my love language, but she loves it. And it takes 2 seconds to do. And so it's like, when you have good communication, you prioritize each other. Like when I go home for the first 2 hours I'm home, I literally don't touch my phone. Like if I'm on a call, I finish it in the car. And when I walk into the house, I'm present with my kids. And then I don't, unless it's an emergency, like I'm not answering my phone and I'm not getting on the phone after I get home until after the kids are like in the shower or something. So we haven't figured it out perfectly, but I think, my wife's happy for as much as I work. She's, in the weekends and all that stuff. She's loving life, and we have a great relationship with each other, and we're both loving, attentive parents and want the best for our kids and want to create a life for them that makes things easier. We want to give them a leg up, not a handout, but like maybe you start on second base,
Yeah. Those are great thoughts. I mean, marriage and family, it really is an adventure. That's a true adventure, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, a couple wrap-up questions. How do you measure success both personally and professionally?
Yeah, I mean, money's a scorecard, like that's the easy one. Like, how am I doing? But then the other question is like, how do you feel like you're doing compared to what you could be doing? And so, the tricky thing about having that as your gauge, and I think this is why for highly successful people, they never stop, is because they're obsessed with this pursuit of what their potential is, like what's possible. And as your experience grows, your potential grows. Mm-hmm. So it's really something that you never catch. If you are the type of person, like I love building, like I love figuring things out in the business, and from the marketing angle, the sales script, the pitch, the offer, the pricing, like I love figuring all that stuff out and iterating over and over until you find like the thing that works. But for highly successful people, they get so like just obsessed with that the pursuit never ends. Like it just constantly becomes this like, man, I took this company from, 0 to 50 million. Could we get to 75? Or I sold my company for 100 million. Can I do that again? Like, it's just that pursuit of your potential. And that borders into spirituality too, right? It's like, as a being in this universe, whatever you believe in, if you believe God has something big for you, then how many days are you going to allow to go by where you're not living that? And you're not pursuing that, and you're not like, because ultimately, if you know that you're capable of doing more and you're not doing it, like it will lead to disengagement and a disconnectedness with purpose. And you will eventually become unmotivated, and you will eventually become depressed and sad because you're not living at your potential. You're not doing what you could be doing or should be doing for whatever reason. And people got a lot of reasons, and I'm not one to judge anything, but like everybody's capable of doing more, and more often than not, they choose not to.
Yeah.
And that's why they end up with problems, Yeah.
Yeah. It's well put. Okay. Here's a fun one. 2 questions left. Here's a fun one. If you could have dinner with any 3 people in history, past or present, who would they be and why?
I mean, my grandpa, he's passed. He was a great guy and always had good wisdom. Probably Rockefeller. And maybe Jesus,
Most common answer we get.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, the dude saw some stuff,
we just had Moby on the Moby?
Yeah.
We just had Moby on the show, and he said Hitler, Jesus, and Trump. And I thought that's a crazy dinner table. And then I thought I'd have Jarrod Glandt, Grant Cardone, and Donald Trump. I think those 3, that would be a great table. Yeah. Okay. Final question, Jarrod. What's next for Jarrod Glandt and Cardone Enterprises? Like, what projects do you have on the go, or what do you want us to bring attention to here? Any projects?
Road for us is just road to going public. So that's a product of everything that we're doing at a higher level. Our big event that we run every year is just around the corner, 10X Growth Conference. Lineup's booked, it's set. It's going to be an insane group of speakers. I pride myself in getting people that don't typically speak on stage and at events, and that people don't often see. And so I've done that again this year. I know that. But even more important than that is wanted to make that event into an event where we developed a reputation behind the event, where we didn't even have to announce the speakers before the event like everybody else does. And so this year is going to be a great event. People can buy tickets. We're about 85% sold out. So if you want to come and join us in Miami this year, April 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, it's a great time of year. The weather's awesome. We're at the Diplomat Hotel. It's right on the beach. Bring the family down. 10xgrowthcon.com, best place to go to grab a ticket and join us. I spent $2 million on talent. So
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go, Jarrod. And I will tell you, for our listeners and subscribers, I bought GrowthCon virtually because we were on the road. So I bought it. It's worth every penny. If you can attend in person, you need to go. It's fantastic.
100%.
Worth every penny.
The networking, the experience, like we try to make it more of like, it's not a boring business conference, you know?
No.
It's like there's pyrotechnics, we have parties every night, like, and then amazing speakers that you don't get to see all the time. So
yeah, the speakers, the last one, it was incredible. The takeaways were, if you're an entrepreneur, business, sales, whatever it might be, it was worth every penny. Anyways, Jarrod, thank you so much for joining us today. A really insightful conversation. I learned a lot about you, what you've been doing, your career. It was a ton of takeaways. Can't thank you enough for it. And where can the people find you online?
Is that Jarrod Glandt? At Jarrod Glandt. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.